Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Lori Davis, and you're tuning in to the Today Show here on the Disability Channel. My apologies, a little technical glitch coming in this morning, so we're just a tad bit late, which I never like to be late. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, here we are. And welcome to today's show. Tuesday, of course, is always all about money and finance with Dr. Ramin Modiri. And today he's going to share with us some information on career choices for our college kids and a little more expansion on the different roles of all the different financial people that are out there. I found that fascinating last week because I generally had thought about a financial advisor does everything, but not the case at all. We need very specific people to do very specific things for us. And let's see, Jay may be popping in this morning. He's on the road today, so he did say he might pop in and say hello. Did a solo show yesterday, how to de-stress. That went rather well, and shared some information about what we do in the world on Mondays. Today's finance, and tomorrow is wellness. And we're going to bring in our wellness expert, Dr. Kay Sheffield. She's going to come in and share some information with us. And Thursday is our specialized community day. So veterans, First Nations, the disabled community, and every other culture out there. There's so many different cultures to examine and explore. So that's Thursday, Multicultural Day. And then on Friday, it's a fun day, up for grabs. We do lots of different things on Friday. So this Friday, we're going to feature one of our own, Jill Younghusband, who's a fabulous singer, and going to share some of her work in the entertainment industry. So retired veteran, I think she called it From the Trenches to the Stage or something like that. I forget how she puts herself out there. So without any further delay, let's bring in Dr. Modiri. We'll take a little 30-second break and bring him in, and we'll be right back. Well, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Yes. How are things in sunny California?
Oh, it's great. I got a little burn here, so we've had some sunny days. So I've been out with my son, so it's been wonderful. And yes, glad to be here.
Good. My apologies. We had a little technical difficulty on the front end, but here we are. And welcome. If you're just joining us, you're listening and watching the Today Show here on the Disability Channel. And of course, Tuesday, we always have Dr. Ramin share with us some very valuable financial information. So it's really important that you get your notepad out, because I'm always ready and have my journal right here. And I have so much great information from you, Ramin. It's just been amazing, this financial journey with you. And of course, let's put a plug in for our workshops that we do, because on the side here, last year, Ramin and I created 100 workshops in finance called 100 Shades of Prosperity. And we have a group we're working with right now, and we're about halfway through, I think. It's a 1-year mentorship program. So if you are interested in really getting savvy with your finances, then please let us know. I'm just going to put Ramin's email up here so that you can get in touch with him if this is something you want to do, or myself. And yeah, it's just really powerful. So while I'm doing all that, why don't I turn the mic over to you, Ramin, and let's get started.
Awesome. Yes, let's do that. Today, we're going to follow up on last week's conversation we had about how do we get the best financial advice and what resources we have to use. So, this week, we're going to follow up on that, but also I'm going to combine it for our doesn't have to be younger generation, but the generation that they are in maybe at universities or colleges, and they like to make some career choices, especially in business and finance. So I'd like to give them some ideas what to look forward to, and then we take it from there. So,
Sounds
but
great.
before I do that, let me start with a little story. So
Okay.
a few days ago, it was my son's birthday, and of course, I want the car all cleaned up because we had the full day together. I want to make sure everything is, done correctly. So we go to a car wash, and we come out, and I see there's a crack on my windshield, and I'm like, I never had a crack on my windshield. So I want to go back. They said, well, we'll call you. Well, to make the story short, they called me and said, well, we are not liable, so take care of it. And I said, well,
Whoa.
what? They said, oh, we have these little signs everywhere, which we should read those. But anyway, so I've been, just checking into that, and basically now it's like half the glass is almost cracked. So we'll take
Whoa.
care of that. Um, so the lesson that there is a couple of lessons I want to share, especially to our younger audience, but people who procrastinate, is, if you take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves. So I never noticed that little crack. And if I would have taken care of that tiny little crack,
Mhm.
I would have not had this big crack, which I have to completely change the windshield. And what happened
Oh.
was because the hot glass hits the cold water, and that's how it happens. It's physics, right? So that's one thing, again, especially with our younger audience, please don't put up things thinking that things will go away. That tiny little, whatever it was, which I really didn't notice much. Obviously, it was there, a pebble or whatever hit it, the glass. Don't put it off. The second lesson I want to share with you, and based on, again, this experience, is in when it comes to law, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to finances, we have to understand that we are entitled to our opinions, but we are not entitled to our own facts. So we have to separate opinions and facts. Unfortunately, with what's going on with so much information, all the TikToks, especially younger people are on the TikToks, entertainment, sometimes the facts and opinions get really mixed up.
Oh,
In
yeah.
my world, in the investment world, if I was a research analyst, whoever hired me, the company investment bank, they're not interested in my opinion. They want to know the facts. And when it comes to law, if you have a lawyer, you got to really read those fine prints, and that's what you hire. Obviously, good attorney, and make sure they do find these things. So my lesson is make sure you do that. For instance, in this cracked window, if again, the insurance companies they cover if you have little cracks or it's small, under 6 inches, actually 3 inches, but up to even 6 inches, they gladly pay for it. But once it passes that, then you have to go to your insurance, you have to go to comprehensive deductible. So those little things
Mhm.
saves you a lot of headaches. So
Mhm.
the same thing happens again. A good lawyer will find the loopholes, or accountants. So we want to rely on the right, again, information, but not just somebody's opinions. All right.
Right.
So, and that brings me to the subject that we started last week about financial advice. Where do we get it? What type of advisors are out there? And what kind of a careers actually we can mix it up with our younger, not again, it doesn't have to be younger audience, because I know people who are in their 50s and 60s are getting degrees, which is wonderful because
Mhm.
now we have access to so much more information. So last week we talked about one of the main sources that people really trust is their public accountant. They go ask for advice from them. but that doesn't, they don't have all the resources, especially when it comes to investments. In Canada, like we have chartered professional accountants, and then when it comes worldwide, is chartered accountants. And we talked about what the financial advisors do. They look at your overall portfolio, your finances, the cash flow, the risks like insurance, retirement planning, investment planning, tax planning, estate planning. They really become your captain. And one of the biggest designations out there is a certified financial planner, which is CFP, and that's through College for Financial Planning in Denver, Colorado. Another designation is CHFC, which is Chartered Financial Consultant, and that's in from American College. It's in Brandmeier, Pennsylvania, and that's another designation uh, you can accomplish and get. So these are some of the ones in general, the most accepted ones when it comes to getting financial plan. We've talked about registered investment advisors. They have to be registered with the FINRA and SEC United States, or the government officials in Canada, for instance. In UK, there's the PSA. So they all have to be registered. So in order to give advice and get paid. So if you want to get paid, you really have to be registered. Then you have your insurance broker, you have insurance agent. We separated that. One has access and represents you as a broker. The agent represents the company and the few companies that they work with. So um, then we talked about stockbrokers or real estate brokers, what they do. The role is their intermediary. They actually bring the two parties together and look for the best solution. We talked about portfolio management, who takes care of, a pool of funds, and generally it's for the long term. You have a hedge fund, which is more active kind of a portfolio with less restrictions. Then we talked about family offices, which, when you think about Ford family, for instance, or Rockefeller family, they're a group that they come and they just take care of one family's wealth. Then you have multifamily, they take care of few families, but these are the wealthy families, and they have the team of attorneys, real estate brokers, they have estate planners, they have accountants, investment advisors. So, and then we also talked about private equity, and private equity is a type of investments that they invest in a privately held, not the public. Public is like you can get shares, and venture capitalist comes and invests in the seed, offers you funds so you can pick up your company and move on and go to the next stage. I think last week where we left it at was in investment banking. And investment banking is very important. And again, if you watched movies like in Wall Street, I mean, there's a lot of movies you watch with common themes. And I know you love, especially more of a real life stories. You like things that real, and I know you love some of these intense movies like Werewolves of Wall Street, or the movie Wall Street 1 and 2, and it's generally these Wall Street guys. They're like in investment bankings, and it's important because we need capital for all the projects what we want to do. An investment banker is the one who comes out, organizes these large complex things to bring capital, but also if the company wants to go public, they bring that and help to take the companies public, the mergers, the acquisitions. That's their job. And they get paid very well, by the way. So they work very hard, but they are very much well paid. So, and that's what investment banking, again, for our younger audience in universities, is a very lucrative business as far as you want to get into. But they really have to have the background. They usually come from financial background, and they gotta hustle. It's a non-stop like anything else, but this one is specifically wheeling and dealing. So, and yeah, so that's basically where we left at. So today I'm gonna follow up on that, get more specific, and again suggest some stuff for our younger or
Mhm.
college students. So another role that you hear, and if you watch Bloomberg, if you watch CNBC, um, you see these financial analysts, you see these research analysts, they come and they have their opinions, but also follow it with their facts. So that's why I said, just don't mix opinions and facts, because I remember old days, I was asked to go on TV shows and they wanted me to spice up my opinion or my what the information I had.
Oh,
I would say, "Oh, you can make 10%." Well, can you kind of spice it up? And I said, "No, thank you. That's not what we do." But you see people come and make predictions, and those predictions are really opinions. So when they suggest this stock is going to go up, it's based on their research, but sometimes again they spice it up and they kind of try to sell the idea rather than having the backup. So in order to do that, you have to have a group, and they are called the research analysts. Now, in research analysts, it's a diverse group. A company, a large investment firm, they have people who do market research. They look at the big picture. Then they have operation research group. They have economic research analysis. They have financial research analysis, and then they have equity research analysis. So each one have its own role. So if you are uh, in business school and you thinking that you're very analytical, you like data, you want to analyze things, this might be a good career for you to follow up. And again, you like number cruncher or you like statistics and probabilities, this will be a role you could have. And again, it's more general. But if you want to concentrate more, then you can become financial analysts. And financial analysts, they gather the data, they organize this information, and then they look at the results. Then they make forecasts based on all the things that they receive, and then they come up with these Excel models and they make the presentations to the larger, like the portfolio manager, and then they make reports. So that one is, so I was a financial analyst, and one of the major groups, which is the highest designation is out there, is chartered financial analyst, which is a CFA, and that's they call it gold standard of investment business. And these recommendations, so if you're in university, is at university, then you are not business major, I would recommend to look into the CFA charter and pursue. I mean, you're in college, you can take this 3 exams, and you can take the first one while you're attending school. So you always want to be ahead. And I will discuss it a little more. There's also something called LIFA, which is the Licensed International Financial Analyst. Again, I have obtained. I mean, whatever I'm saying, except the CPA, all the talks that we've had, I have been fortunate. I mean, I'm that old now. In the past 35 years or so, I've obtained all of those designations. So I'm talking from experience rather than just a theory. So that's what I think it would be a good idea if somebody wants to really get serious about, financial analysts. Investment analyst is more specific to the actual pure investments. They are like a financial analyst, but financial analysts doesn't have to, or chartered financial analysts, for instance, they don't have to work just with investment companies. They can become a CFO of a company
oh,
because they
right.
have background, because you have one of the exams that we take. There's a 3-level exam in the CFA charter, and the second one is corporate finance. It's accounting. So the first one is general. We talk about ethics. We look at all kinds of investment world. Second one is more on accounting and corporate finance. And third one is a portfolio management written exam. And that's, you actually are presented, whether it's institution, let's say an endowment of university comes to you and says, well, for instance, we have $100 billion or $50 billion. What do you do with it? So you can't do that. Or individual comes, a retired soccer player, he says, I have $30 million. Can you manage this? That's helpful. So as a financial analyst or a CFHR, you could do that. Investment analyst purely works on the, on the investment side of things. So that's the difference. Again, analyze the same thing with balance sheet. Um, so that's another career. Now, one of the other things we found out, after COVID, a lot of people, as you know, they had to stay home. There was no job to go to. They could not go outside. So some of our generations, they decided that what am I going to do? And the government is paying, sending them this refunds or whatever, the cash is, the checks are coming in while we are waiting. So I'm at home and I'm looking at, oh my goodness, I'm watching Bloomberg, I'm watching CNBC, and I'm like, I get itchy and say, wow, people can make money in the stock market or trading. I'm going to be a trader. So basically, all of a sudden, overnight, we had a generation of new traders coming in, thinking that it is an easy thing to do. And
Oh,
unfortunately, it became a gambling rather than really calculated trading. One of my friends sent me a screenshot of, you know, um, he did some betting on sports betting, and it was great. I mean, it was, I think it was like 500 to 1 he made money. It's just amazing return. But you had to really work hard. They analyze the teams. They do. It's not gambling. Gambling is when your odds are unknown. The odds are in a way that it's a 50-50. You put in either win or lose. When you get into trading, people don't realize it is a lot of work. And a trader is someone who uses that vehicle, whether they are investing in stocks, in commodities, they are doing options, in bonds, currencies like forex. That is very much short term and generally it's for income. So it's almost like a daily income, but it's not gambling, and that's the misconception. So a trader gets in and they want to make, again, an income using their capital. But like anything else, you have to have a foundation. You have to
mm,
understand the markets. You cannot just, excuse the language, but a monkey can throw a dart at a paper and choose a stock, and they're going to be as successful, if not more, than the individual investors. So it's not about that. It's not. It's about really, you want to do your own uh,
that's,
personality is very important. What kind of a character you have as a
mhm.
trader, generally, if you're really professional, you're a quick decision maker. You are in and out. You got to, there is no ego. Once you have that ego sitting in there, that's like a poison because you want to be right rather than make money. And nobody is, can be successful in the long run. So a trader could go on different tools. We have like technical traders, they look at charts. They have fundamental traders, they look at this balance sheet, they look at the actual economic reasoning behind things. We have people who are really like, I've had trades, my quickest trade in my life, I've been in 6 seconds. By the time I put in, I was already out. I put the trade in 6 seconds. But you could be in a
Whoa.
1 minute, 2 minutes, a day. So you have to decide, up to like you can be swing trader like for a week. But that's another career. Some people, when they retire, they like to go. Sure. So um, if you watched, I would recommend watch a movie called Boiler Room. And it came in year 2000. In the Boiler Room, fortunately, we don't have as much. Things have really, but they still are out there in a different way, but it's not that obvious anymore. Van Diesel, if you're familiar
Oh,
with his Fast and Furious
yeah.
days,
Mhm.
he played, and Ben Affleck. And it's about these, and the same thing, if you watch Werewolves of Wall Street, for instance, these are the people who, I mean, Boiler Room was something called, we call them penny stocks. Generally, penny stock means any stocks that's under $5, but it's usually we call them pink sheet. They're like pennies. They're like a 10-cent stocks, 1 cent stocks. And these people were just calling people, giving them this dream of becoming multimillionaires, and they were selling things that didn't exist.
Oh
And
my
and
God.
that's what's called boiler room. They were really creating things. But that's what they play our hopes and dreams sometimes. And that's what you want to be very careful. So watch that movie, but something called penny stocks. And these stocks are not big stocks. And you don't have a lot of information out there. So nobody's really doing, remember, we talked about financial analysts, equity analysts. They're not wasting their time to analyze this. So one in 1,000 might work out. Somebody who's working on I remember like in 1980s, you didn't have the internet, so they would send you mailers, and how you can fly in the sky, and and they were correct, but that was more of a dream. But now we do have machines that you can fly from one place to another place individually. But yeah, so they do these things, so you got to be very careful. So when it comes to penny stocks, these boiler rooms, they pump it so everybody gets in, the price goes up, and then they sell it. So we call it pump and dump. They pump the prices and then they dump it. So you end up, with nothing. Nowadays, a similar thing is like we had a thing called meme stocks, like GameStop. GameStop, many people made, they thought they made a lot of money. By the time they want to cash out, they had already lost a lot of money. So that's kind of similar, but they're not penny stocks, but the mentality is the same. So, how are we doing? Do you like to take a break?
Yeah. Well, what I'm finding interesting is, you know how we're always making connections without us even realizing it, right? Tonight, when we do our financial workshop, do you know what our topic is? Career choices.
No way. There's no plan. Awesome.
And how our career choices have impacted our finances,
Excellent. Yes.
right?
Yes.
And speaking of careers, I don't want to put you on the spot, but how many of those designations that you're talking about do you have? I know you've got like a rap sheet longer than my arm, right?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. One thing I have to say, having credentials doesn't make you a good advisor or good investment portfolio manager. But you have to remember, people who have gone through that, at least they are serious. For instance, I have 12 degrees and designations from, I think, 6 or 7 different universities, right? So I have total of 12. Each one is like 2 or 3 years of studying. So even if I not that good, but at least I did put my effort. The exams are not easy. It's like taking a bar exam. If I go to a doctor, I want them to spend at least 7 hours. I want them to go to residency school. I want them to be trained. So if they're gonna cut me open, if they're gonna
Yeah.
stick something in me, I want to make sure they're not part-time. Excuse the language, which is great. The plumbers are the busiest people, by the way, nowadays. It's very hard to find them. But I don't want them to be a part-time plumber and then they come and open my heart. They,
No, that's right.
so you do want to separate that. So the credentials are a good starting point, but they're not the end point. Because I think we've talked about credibility.
Yes.
Credibility is not about credentials. Credibility was about the experience, a great usage. I mean, if I mentioned plumber or carpenter, boy, I want them references. I want to make sure they can do this door right way. On the other hand, they could have gone to school for 100 years and they still cannot put the door the right way. So there's a difference. But at least when it comes to technical thing, my lawyer, I want to make sure at least they have gone and learned things. But also another things like with my designations, and I have to keep up to date. So every year I
Oh,
have
wow.
to reevaluate. I mean, I have, in order to keep my licenses, I have to make sure I go through these credentials again. So that's one thing that's important. And I get a lot of my students, when I lecture at the universities, like for instance, they come and ask me, well, should I go to MBA? Should I do my MBA degrees? Should I get my master's in finance? Should I get my CFA charter, or do I do my CFP? The good news is, again, since I've gone through those, so I am more objective in what I would do, but it also depends on their personality. So it all depends, like the lessons that you do, we want to work on their mindset, mind beliefs, their upbringing. What is the beliefs? What kind of characters they have? So basically, that's what I would recommend, to get to know themselves first. We're talking about career choices and other things. It's all about reflection of our own experiences and who we are. So
Mhm.
we talk about introverted, extroverted, which will be interesting how they kind of work together sometimes. And doesn't have to be, if I'm introverted, I could be a great marketer too. But generally, like a lot of them, they like to work, let's say, just on the computer. They love analyzing data. If that's their love, well, that would be a good career as an analyst or something like that. But going back to designations, yeah. So I think everything except I was not a penny stock. I've invested a lot. I have taught courses on microcap and penny stock. So I do have workshops on that. But other than that, I think except CPA, I've done everything else. MBA, masters in finance and other things. So
Right.
yeah. So, um,
It would be easier for you to talk about the ones you don't have.
yeah,
It would take less time to talk about what you don't have.
yeah. Not that everything has worked out as far as using, but it's good to have, at
You
least when
have
I
it.
share with someone. I can tell them, okay, don't go this route. I've had
Yeah.
people come to me, they want to spend, like, some of these MBA programs, it's like $180,000. It's like, do I really want that? And we will discuss it actually next segment. I want to give advice to our, um, again, our university students when it comes to investment, when it comes to Wall Street. What are these firms? What schools they go to? So you can see if you want to go into that frame as far as a career goes, what are the top schools that all these Wall Street firms, they love to go and recruit. So that would be our next segment. I'll give you something about portfolio managers, investment bankers. What are the top universities? So if you don't have a break, I can go through that. If you'd like to take a break, you can wait.
Well,
So
we'll just take a little break and give you a little break, and we'll be right
okay,
back. And it
that's
gives me an opportunity also to share that we are now taking on advertising and sponsorships. We wanted to wait until we saw how the show was doing, and the show was doing really well. And we're expanding our platforms all the time, every day. And so we're putting together some very nice, cost effective packages for smaller businesses for on the show so that you can have a spot on the show. So when we take a break, instead of the snowflakes floating up in the air, we see your product, your program, or your service. So I think just for fun, let's do this. This is an unedited version, of course. I may not have that. Better not do that. No. Okay. So we'll do our snowflakes, and we did some unedited versions yesterday of some advertising. So it was kind of fun just to give people an example. All right, here we go, 30 seconds.
all right.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching the Today Show here on Tuesday, Money Matters, and with Dr. Ramin Modiri. And I just shared with him it was easier to talk about what designations he doesn't have than the ones that he has. So, we're talking today about all the different kinds of career choices that are available in the financial industry, which is really good information, especially for our young people who are considering a career in finance. And I guess for me, out of all of them, I would choose investment banker. That would be my choice so far. So that sounds like the most fun one and the most appealing one for my personality. All right. So back to you, Ramin.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that is, and it's well, when you're successful, it is very lucrative, but it's hard work. People think
Mhm.
that's just easy. It's not. I did a but eight 8 years ago, I did a panel in one of our universities, and I brought some of the top career people, like one of the top people in investment banking. I brought a portfolio manager, a hedge fund manager. I brought an analyst, which was a medical, he was one of the number ones in Wall Street. And I brought a professional trader, someone whose average income a year was $16 million. That was his average income in trading. And once we put that out, I put it together. I was uh, the coordinator, and then within minutes it was sold out. I mean, people, it was at Chapman University. We did that in local in Orange County, and it was gone. People were really never had a chance. A lot of university students, they take the courses, but they have no idea what each career is consisted
Has
of.
to
So
offer. Yeah.
so it was nice to see, someone who's a hedge fund manager manages like $2 billion. What is the daily routine? And one of my workshops, well, one of the courses that I do is I call it a day in the life of a trader, for instance. So they can see from like 5 o'clock when I wake up till at
Mhm.
the end of the night, what do I do? And they really enjoy that. So let me give some specific advice for actually our high school students who want to choose their, let's say they're in junior in high school and they want to choose their university because they love finance and investing. So um, what I like to do, I like to share what universities are the top choices for Wall Street. How's that? So, what school the Wall Street goes first when they want to recruit people for their firms? So, I'm going to do a drum roll. I'm going to give you for the. This is just general Wall Street careers. Could be portfolio management, analyst. So the top 10, actually, it's 11 because there's a tie, by the way. So that's why. Number one university is University of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
That's the school that a lot of Wall Street firms go. The largest firm at present is Goldman Sachs. So Goldman Sachs goes to University of Pennsylvania, but among other ones. Number two is New York University, and that's what my daughter attends, and she's actually think of career in getting her MBA from the Stern Business School, and that's number two. And the biggest firm present at near NYU is J.P. Morgan. So J.P. Morgan actively recruits there. Number three is Cornell University in New York. Goldman Sachs, again, they're very active. Number four is University of Michigan. And University of Michigan is the top four, and City is a big recruiter. And these numbers, by the way, they're as of like 2024, so they're very updated. Number five is Harvard. Most people would have thought like, oh, Harvard would be number one. Well, the number five, again, Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is everywhere. They just love to recruit that university. Number six is Columbia University. Again, Goldman Sachs is right there. Number seven is University of Chicago. And University of Chicago has excellent school in economics. They are very affluent. And again, Goldman Sachs is very busy there. Number eight is University of California, Berkeley. And that one, again, Goldman Sachs, right there. Number nine, University of Notre Dame in Indiana. And That's Bank of America has a big presence. Number 9 is Duke University, and Morgan Stanley is the biggest recruiter at Duke University, and they're tied with University of Southern California or USC. And again, Morgan Stanley is busy with Notre Dame, I mean Duke and USC. So those are your top 11 schools that if you attended and if you graduated, my recommendation for again our students is what you want to do is don't wait till you graduate to do something. Get
Ah,
into this, volunteer as soon as, even if you're a freshman. Networking is very, very important. I hate to say this, but it is who you know that exposes you, offers you the opportunities. And of course, we want to get good grades, be active, proactive, I would say. I remember, when I went to university, I went to become a doctor, right? So, but I ended up in statistics and actuary. And when I was graduating, it was the middle of recession. So what I did, I took my first, so actually you have 10, but you have 5 exams you can take. I took my test and I passed it in calculus. And then the second was the statistics. By the time I graduated, it was not my grades, but because I had passed the test, I had the 25 job offers while my engineering friends, they were looking for a job. So always be proactive. So taking that one test puts you ahead. The same thing like if you do like your CFA exam, do it while you're in college. And nowadays, a lot of investment banking companies and Wall Street companies, they look for that. So let me go to the next one because I want to share with you something else. Sorry, I want to look at this reference. All right.
no problem.
Yeah. So I just had to make a list available for you. So the next list, because it's a long list, I had to make a list for myself. There's about 30 of them. You mentioned about investment banking. So this is if you had to go to any school, what what schools would be favorite for specifically investment banking? So I'm going to share about 30 of them. Um, Number one for investment banking is University of Pennsylvania again, and Goldman Sachs is the biggest recruiter. I'll go quickly, so in interest of time. Number two is New York University, J.P. Morgan. Number three is Cornell, J.P. Morgan. Number four is University of Michigan, and that's Jeffries. Number five is Columbia, it's Goldman Sachs. Number six is Harvard, it's Goldman Sachs. Number six, again, University of Chicago, that's Morgan Stanley. And number eight is Georgetown University. Again, this is for investment banking, that's Bank of America. Number one is, nine is University of Southern California, is JP Morgan. Number 10 is University of Texas, and that's Moats and Company. Number 11 is UC Berkeley, is Goldman Sachs. Number 12 is Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame, Bank of America. Number 13 is University of Virginia, that's Jeffries, and I've been involved with a few of these universities, so it's nice to see them. Number 14 is Duke University, that's Goldman Sachs. And number 15 is Yale University, that's Goldman Sachs. Now, I got 15 more, so some of people might not be getting into these universities. So the number 16 is Dartmouth, is Goldman Sachs. Number 17 is Boston College, that's Citigroup. Princeton is number 18, is Goldman Sachs. Number 19 is Brown University, is Goldman Sachs. Number 20 is Northwestern University, and that's Bank of America. Number 21 is University of California, Los Angeles. that's UCLA, and that's Citigroup. Then Emory University is number 22, that's Citigroup. Number 23 is Vanderbilt University, is Bank of America. Number 24 is Stanford University, that's Goldman Sachs. Number 25 is Washington University, is Guggenheim Partners. Number 26 is Southern Methodist University, that's Jeffries. Number 27 is Middlebury College, it's Goldman Sachs. Number 28 is University of North Carolina as Chapel Hill. That's number 20, Bank of America. Number 29 is University of Illinois Champaign, and that's Goldman Sachs. And then the last one is Williams College, number 30, and that's Guggenheim. So one thing I mentioned, this one I had to have because I couldn't memorize all these, so I had to have a reference for this. Also, my son says our younger generation, they love these short clips, 1 or 2 minutes. They like it entertaining, and a lot of times I'm not. I'm all about contents. I'm about information, so I don't do a lot of cartoons or animations. And my son thinks this will be good, but he says, "Dad, every time I listen to you, I always learn something." So he said, "Dad, you're a professor. You're good with but you're not a good entertainer." He says, "Young kids like to be entertained, Dad. Go in a big yacht and have the beautiful background and say, oh, you're going to be making 100 million." I'm like going, "Son, that's not what I do." Because of that, I always like to have, and I think you've noticed, I like to have always presentations. I like to have slides as a reference because we forget. And sometimes it's good to have as a reference point. One of the good things about our YouTube channel that, people, our audience can always access our recordings is they have transcripts. So if they want to just see the list, so rather than writing them down, it's already there. They can copy and paste and, for their own information when I give like these lists. The other thing is if anyone's interested, I would be more than happy. If there is a list, I would be more than happy to share with them so they can use it as a reference. So if anyone likes to, they can email me or you can email you, Dr. Lori, and we can always provide the things the resources that they want in the form of a PDF, for instance, and they can always have access to it. So that would be something that too much
Now,
information at one time.
if I wanted to find you on YouTube, how would I do that?
So we have most of our podcasts and also workshops. They are private. We have like hedge fund managers, portfolio managers, a specific group are part. But we also have some public, some really good information about emerging markets and a lot about trading, and that's rmsmartinvesting.com. So if they go just RM Smart Investing, they will see some of my YouTubes out there. There's some, again, I don't do a lot of public appearances, but if they do.
What a shame.
What is that? It's a shame.
What a shame.
I have to make it, it's more, again, a lot of contents.
Yes.
So it's not really, again, there's no animation. So for a younger generation, it's not that. Right. But we will do more of that. I'll be working. We do have hired AI people, and we are really expanding our presence, especially with universities. We have a lot of universities on board for our materials, workshops. But anyway, I just want to mention that if anyone was interested, we always can provide more resources. So
for sure. Yeah. Can you believe our time is up?
No. Well, I talk too much. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's okay. No, and I think what we're going to do down the road is we're going to invite some of the people that you mentioned, as our guests. Like we could have a hedge fund manager come in and talk to us, or we could host a meeting with, an investment banker. So you
Yes,
had those kind of contacts, and we could bring them in as our special guests, which would be really good.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, fascinating people. I mean, it's they're wonderful. So
yeah,
yes,
great.
I'll be happy to.
All right. Well, you've been listening to the Today Show on Tuesday, Money Matters, and we're back on the air in an hour with Doug Smith, and we have a special, very special guy coming on today, Dr. Vic, we call him, and he owns a string of healing centers throughout Ontario, and seems like a super guy. So he's going to be our guest on the press box coming up in an hour. So stay tuned. I'm back, and I will be wearing the same outfit because I'm on the road this afternoon. I'm dressed for the day. So, oh, gee, oh, well, that's the way it is. Anything else you need to say, Dr. Ramin, before we go?
No, have a wonderful again rest of the week. Again, as I mentioned, just be aware of opinions and facts. So
Mm-hmm.
let's even again, especially the science of things. So yeah, that's and with the summer coming, with schools are a lot of schools obviously done. So this is a good time for the our uh, younger people to reflect on the year they had, but also what futures they want to choose. So that's why I thought it might be time to discuss this subject. So yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. Really informative. All right, everyone. We'll see you in a little while, and we'll see you again tomorrow for Wednesday Wellness. Bye for now.
yes. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.